Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us in for our August Magic Mixer with Mountain Spirit Co-op. I am your host, Elizabeth Hyer Rose, and it is my honor to introduce Celeste Holly, who is our presenter tonight. Celeste is a certified Usui Reiki master teacher, a yogi, and a crystal and vibrational healer. She utilizes an eclectic and intuitive approach, as well as the inner wisdom and guidance of the Reiki guides, angels, devas, and spiritual masters. She works with crystals and stones in her sessions to promote deeper relaxation, calm, and healing in the body. Celeste says, offering this ancient art of healing helps others achieve a sense of balance, wellness, and calm in their daily lives. In addition to Reiki, she's also an RYT 200-hour certified yoga instructor, complemented with an RPYS 85-hour prenatal yoga certification and 20 hours of PTSD trauma yoga training. She does both Reiki and yoga in person if you're in the Prescott, Arizona area, but also online. So reach out. And if this were not enough, Celeste is also an artist. She creates and sells jewelry, both wire wrapped and beaded, along with earrings and malas, which carry the modalities of crystal healing. She teaches jewelry classes, energy stick painting, and paper art, and says, creativity is a healing practice that facilitates relaxation in the body and connection to others. She is also part of MSHEC3, which is the nonprofit arm of MSCO, where she contributes to the community in healing, creativity, and mindful motion. So that is to say, Celeste is incredible. And we are thrilled to be able to sit back and enjoy this hour with her and crystals. So with that, I turn it over to Celeste.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for such a beautiful introduction. I kind of forget I do all of those things. They become quite integrated into the way that I live and the things that I do. So I'm really grateful to be here tonight to talk to you about crystals and how they can be a tool in any kind of work that you do or in just in your daily life. And I'm going to add in a little backstory about crystals and how I became acquainted with them and began utilizing them in my daily practices and in my healing work. So many years ago, I was exploring different aspects of my own spiritual growth and spiritual healing. And one of the things that I continued to be attracted to was semi-precious stones and stones that I could feel the energy in them. And I didn't fully understand what that meant, other than that I could feel, things react in my hand or in my own specific needs for things that were going on in my life. So I found it interesting, but I really had never understood it as actually being a very ancient healing art. So crystal healing has been known from the earliest times. I mean, probably from the beginning of time that men were seeking ways to help heal themselves, men and women. And those crystals aren't like the crystals that I'm going to show some of to you that were all polished and beautiful. They were organic, they were straight out of the ground, and they were found in ways way different than the way that we find them today, which is most often in a crystal store or are given as a gift to us. So those properties were discovered over ancient times and over times of what specific crystals did for specific things. And that knowledge was passed on from one generation to the next generation, and from one culture to the next culture and continue to manifest in the world, and it continues to be here today. Today, crystals in our modern times are helpful for some of the technological and radiation aspects of our world today. So like the energies that we receive off of computers and microwaves and our cell phones. I mean, my gosh, who knows how much is in one of those, right? And even in this technology, there is minerals and things that are being used that we forget about too, that help activate all of these things. But we also sometimes need to offset the things that are being dumped in around us in this modern world. So there are some stones that are helpful for that can also be used in our modern times that we didn't used to need or have in the past. So all that being said, as I began to be more and more attracted to these beautiful stones and to their energies, I figured out maybe I should learn some things about them, right? And so I talked to a gentleman. He was an intuitive, and we were sitting down and talking, and he just looked at me and said, well, I think that part of your role in this world is to study about crystals and their energy and how they work in the body. So I kind of took him up on that and started doing reading and studying about what types of crystals did certain things. And so I, over the years, picked up a lot of books, and I'm just going to show you a couple of books that are easy for you to pick up or borrow from the library or whatever, that help explain healing crystals and their gemstones. And so this is one of those books. This one is by Dr. Flora Preshik-Bomer and Gisela Schreiber. This book I picked up over 20 years ago, so I don't know. Can you see it? I don't know if it's still in print. I'm going to guess that it is. This is a really pretty book. It has the pictures of the stones along with a description, and it's fairly large, but it's very limited. It doesn't have as many stones as there are in the world, right? And so I expanded from that. This was the absolute first book, though, that I picked up. And then I was given this book, and this one is a Smithsonian handbook, and it doesn't exactly explain the properties as much as it talks about where they can be found, and what they're made up of, their minerals, things like that. So this is a Smithsonian handbook on gemstones, and that's a really pretty book, and has also some really good pictures of gemstones. And these are more cut gemstones. There's also some history in this book about gemstones. So that's kind of a cool little book. And then the very well-known crystal Bibles. I have two of them here. This is the original crystal Bible, the #1. And this one has a lot of the basic crystals in it. So it shows a picture, and then it shows a meaning, and then it shows what parts of the body it affects. It shows what it should look like, not only in the picture, but in a description, its attributes, its healing properties, and the position of maybe how you would use it or wear it. So this is a really useful book because it explains lots of different ways to use your stones yourself. And then as you are moving out in the world and you start to get stones, you might not know what it's doing for you, and you'll come home and take this book and look it up. And there's a crystal Bible 2, and there's a crystal Bible 3 now too. So this is a really useful book, and it's easy to use. I wanted to share that with you, that there are, and there's probably, as 100 others that are available to use as a resource as you start to pursue the idea of using crystals as a healing property. And so for many years, I just used them for myself. I would get attracted to a stone and I would buy it and put it in my room or put it wherever I thought that I needed it. I also bought the little gemstones and made jewelry out of them, and then I would wear them. This is a green Gaia stone. This one's a labradorite, which is one of the first stones that I ever bought. This is like a light blue stone. They're not as easy to come by as they used to be. And this stone is more about the throat chakra, which is something I often need to speak my truth. And then a long time ago, and Dana, this was back in the Mountain Spirit Co-op days. This is a rose quartz pendant. I wore this probably a good 5 to 6 years. And this stone I used to heal my relationship with my mother. It was very conscious. It was very purposeful when I chose to do this. And it truly did heal my relationship with my mother. It did take work. But just wearing that stone almost every day was a good reminder for me to remember how I wanted to show up in my relationship. And I wanted to show up with love and with compassion and with release of tension and things like that. So those are some ways of wearing stones, as you can find one that's wire wrapped, or you can do it yourself, or put it in your pocket. That's another way to carry that energy around with you. Just know, try to figure out what that stone is doing for you when you pick it up. All of that said, even though there's all of these books and there's all of this information, at the end of the day, if that stone that you pick up is a black tourmaline, which is usually a grounding stone, but you feel that it's giving your heart space, then that's what it's going to do. So our relationship with our stones aren't completely couched in what a book tells us. I wanted to put that out there too. So, yeah, so continuing on with my story, I started to study the stones. The intuitive guide suggested that, and then I began wrapping stones and providing stones for people, teaching people how to wrap their stones. And in the process of that, I discovered that I also had an ability to give women and men, if they were there, which wasn't as often, a space to communicate their feelings and what was going on in their lives, and be a supportive person that held space for whatever it was that they were going through. I continued my studies, and then one weekend I was teaching a wire wrapping class for a group of women at a institution that I was working at, a university in Wisconsin. And so there were about 20 women that were on this weekend. And so there were 2 classes offered. One was the wire wrapping class, one was a basket making class. And a woman in the basket making class finished her basket, and she wandered over and she said, "Would you be willing to teach me how to wrap a stone even though your class is over?" And I felt really guided to say yes, and I did. And she said, "Do you have a rose quartz?" I was like, "Sure, let's look for it. I might have one left." And we did. And so we sat down and I started showing her how to wrap the stone, but I knew there had to be a reason, So again, that attraction to the stone, what is it that you need from the stone? And so I asked her, I said, "Tell me about the stone." And she said, "Well, I heard that the properties of rose quartz was helpful in infertility." And actually it really isn't, but at least not technically, according to the books. Moonstone is one of those. And I believe there's one other stone, but not usually rose quartz. But I was like, that's okay. It's all about love. So And I don't think I really knew for sure at the time. So we wrapped that stone and I said, so tell me about the infertility. And she told me her story about infertility. And I also had an infertility story, which I shared with her. And it was sort of this perfect spiritual moment of connecting two people with commonality and creating this space of healing, both for myself and for her. She wrapped her stone and I wrapped some earrings and she went off. And as she left, she said, well, I'm going to soak these stones and I'm going to drink the water in the morning. And this is one way that you can use stones for healing. And I was like, and I had not known that. So there was another learning experience for me. And this was about 15, 16 years ago. So she left that weekend and I left, and the next year was another one of those weekends, and I went to do another jewelry class and I kind of looked for her and she wasn't there. In the second day of the weekend, a woman showed up and then I remembered that she knew that woman. And so I asked her if she was going to be there that weekend. And she said, no, but she wanted me to give you something. And I was like, oh, really? What is it? And she pulled out a photocopied picture of a baby girl with that rose quartz that she wrapped sitting on her baby blanket. And that's the power of our ability to heal ourselves or be in willingness of allowing the energy of the stones to work in our lives. And that story is kind of an exceptional story and a pretty powerful one, but it really told me a lot about the work that I need to do. And not that I made her pregnant or created that, but I know that I created a space for her to come into a belief that anything was possible. And I truly believe that in so many ways. So I wanted to share that story also. Okay, so putting that out there of the power and the reason why we people pursue the energy of the stones. There are 3 or actually 4 crystals that if you never got another crystal, this would be enough in your toolbox to do the energy work that you want to do for yourself or for anyone else. And so one of them is a quartz crystal, and this beautiful little sphere is a quartz crystal. It's actually a rainbow tourmaline, or not tourmaline, a rainbow Lemurian rainbow quartz, but it is a clear crystal quartz. And so that's number 1. And the crystal quartz blocks energies, it rebalances the energy systems. It is a conductor of other energies, so you can use other crystals with the clear quartz. It rebalances your nervous system, rebalances your physical system, and can rebalance your physical. I recently did a Reiki session with a woman that I used a selenite quartz, which is very, very similar to clear crystal, and it carries the same properties. So this is a selenite sphere, has almost all of the same properties. And I had a really long selenite wand that I placed from here to here. And as we were doing the Reiki work and I was at the top of her head, I could almost see the release of what she needed to let go of run straight down that wand and out of her body. And as I watched that happen, she went, oh my God, I am so dizzy. And so, we worked through that, and the power of that quartz, that crystal quartz, was phenomenal in that session. And so those are just some of the things that I've learned can make a real difference in a healing as compared to not having that. So crystal quartz is one of the 4. The other one is citrine. Citrine is a yellowish stone. And And it usually has a clear component to it, and there might be some white in it. So this is a citrine. And this actually also works well with the solar plexus chakra, which is the one that sits right underneath your diaphragm. And this chakra, I often think of it as that place where we hold the energy of the day. We hold everything that's coming into us all day long. And this is a great way to release that tension, to use citrine. It releases and melts pain. It lets go of tension and stress. I usually have one of these on my altar at all times. So citrine is is the second one to have. The third one is rose quartz. So rose quartz is that quartz that soothes energy. Dissolves stressful relationships. It is that love stone. It's that stone that brings in the compassion and the letting go, the relax and release. It's so useful for so many things. The rose quartz can make babies. No, I'm just kidding. It's that sweet stone for at the very minimum for love. And then the final one is the amethyst. Amethyst is purple. This is an amethyst point. And all of these crystals can be found for not a lot of money. And amethyst is also useful for changing and dissolving negative energies that are around you. It connects you to the positive. It's often called the sobriety stone. So I like to think of it when I think of in sobriety stone, not just alcohol, but also for other addictions, whether it's distracting yourself with food or over exercising or there's a million things, right, that we spend too much time on in order to distract ourselves from being present in the moment. So that's amethyst. So it's the quartz, the citrine, the rose quartz, and the amethyst. Those 4 stones will get you through no matter what. Some other great stones and ones that I have in my toolbox all of the time are smoky quartz. This is a beautiful smoky quartz that actually, Dana, you gave to me a long time ago. And this smoky quartz has a little rainbow in it. And that is super great for getting rid of negative influences. It can be a grounding stone, which can help you be more connected to the earth. This stone, for me, when I work with people, I often use it for the inner organs, like for the kidneys, the stomach, sometimes the liver, the pancreas. And I've also used this stone long distance Reiki for women with breast cancer, and it's been super successful for that. So the smoky quartz. And what else do I have? Well, I had the black tourmaline, and that's a super great grounding stone. It's also a protection stone. If you have things that sort of feel negative in your space, black tourmaline is a nice stone to have. A really small one is great to keep in your pocket. I don't think of the world as being in super light energies or super black energies. I think of them as being shadow and light, but that they're the yin and the yang, and they have to work together. But the consciousness of finding protection from things that maybe we don't want to embrace as a part of our life. This is really helpful. And then my final one here is kyanite. This is a really actually beautiful kyanite. It was one of the first crystals I ever bought way back in the day. And this one for me is again back in that blue area, back into my throat chakra, also a little bit of my third eye. And for me, this stone is a reminder of the work that I need to do. I don't really use it too often for healing, but it's a nice stone to have too. I do have one that I wear around my neck though, all the time. Like blue kyanite, I replaced it with, after I finished using pink quartz. So that's the other one I've been using. This is a fluorite. I don't know if you can see this one. This one, my sweet friend Rebecca Cute Hands wrapped. And this one I use to help ramp up my energy a little bit, especially if I'm feeling a little bit sluggish or tired, or when I'm doing work like this, it reminds me, yes, you can do this. You got this. So this is just a little bit of what I have, but also what I use pretty regularly. Okay. Oh, one more thing before I go on to the cleansing part, and this is a pendulum. It's a crystal pendulum, and that's another tool that you probably want to have in your toolbox. The pendulum is useful for dowsing. It's useful for cleansing your stones. It can be a cleanser by circling a certain direction so many times. And we're going to talk more about cleansing. But having a crystal pendulum is very, very useful also. Okay. All right. Now we're going to talk about cleansing or care for your crystals. Charging and cleansing them is very, very important. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways of doing that. Many of you already have these things in your practices. You can use things like sage. This is sage. Pick it up. Sage bundle, you can light that, and then you can circle that around your crystals or your crystal. I don't very often use sage. And I've had to learn by experience, unless I have a big grouping of crystals. Because sometimes I want to do them all at once, and then I'll get my sage out and smudge all of them at one time. An easier way to do a small batch or one crystal at a time is to use Palo Santo, and that's a long stick, a wood stick that's called Palo Santo, and you can get that at a crystal store or other kind of new age places, and you just light that Palo Santo and it will start to smoke a little bit. Get this one to go. There we go. And once it gets smoking, I'll circle that smoke around my crystal, and then I'll usually do some kind of a chant. And for me, my most common chant is above and below and all around, protect and ground, and do that each one individually. So that's another way of cleansing your crystals. So let's say you're somewhere and you don't have any of these things, but you have water. You can use regular water, water right out of the tap. I work out of a place sometimes that doesn't allow anything to be burning in the building. So then if I have not brought my own water, I'll use water out of the tap and wash my stones that way. That being said, some stones should not soak in water because they may dissolve, but you could do a quick pass through with water if needed. And also use things like moon water. This little jar was out in the full moon and I made some moon water. You can also use sun water, and sun water is super easy to make, and that you can do a little thing with your pendulum or with a stick going around 9 times counterclockwise and clockwise, and then set it in the sun for a few minutes, and then you have sun water. So there's little ways of cleansing your stones. And another really quick way is, if you don't have any of those things, or 2 more quick ways, is you can take a candle you can take your stone and pass it through the flame and cleanse your stone that way. And I have also cleansed stones by placing it in my hand, taking a deep breath in, down low, and then blowing it up over the stone and releasing the energy that way. And all of this is about intention. And as long as we have intention and it's directed in a positive, cleansing way, all of these things are useful and work for cleansing stones. Any questions quickly about that? Okay. So the other way of caring for your crystals is to set up, and I've set up here for you just an example of a little sanctuary for my stones. I know Elizabeth has a spot behind her that she keeps some of her stones. So a little sanctuary, or a place for them to be all together. Yeah. And that is sort of like an honoring of your stones and what they do for you. And I have several places that I keep my stones. I have my own altar, and then I also have some places that I keep them where I sleep and in my living space. And I try to create these places of honor. I also have, I forgot to grab that, grab it quick. A little dish that has herbs in it. And these herbs also carry their own energies. And I keep that nestled in with my stones. I actually even will sometimes put my stones in that. And can also use oils. I don't place the oils on the stones, but I might put it in a dish or put it on the herbs that that I have resting in that space or that sanctuary where my stones are resting. Some people have big dishes. That's how my sister keeps her stones. She has these huge dishes that she keeps all of her stones in, and then she keeps it on a table, either in her kitchen or in her living room, so that she has easy access to them. Okay, so when using your stones for healing, I've already talked about a couple of things. Another thing that's very useful is to have a notebook. And if you are doing healings for people, especially if they're long distance, to write down which stones you're using and how and why you're using them. And that can be really powerful in your continued healings. And also, if you work with the person again, you can remember what you used last time and how it affected the person. So a healing stone book is really helpful. I think we pretty much talked about the empowering of our crystals with that mindful intention. Some stones are super great for home, and then some crystals are super great for work also. So when I was out in the work world and working on a computer all day, every day, and eventually was working on 2 computers at one time, there was a lot of energy that was getting ramped up, both between the computers and the people that I was working with. So I had stones to help absorb, like fluorite is super great for absorbing the energy off of the computer energy off of you and off of the area that you're working in. I also had a large piece of lepidolite that I used to help absorb the negative energy of some of my coworkers. And that was super useful. In fact, my boss went by one day and she looked and she said, "I know what you're doing." I was like, "Yep, that's what I'm doing." And she just walked away. But it worked super great. Lepidolite, this was a kind of a raw lepidolite. So as I had it sitting on my desk, it started to grow these like little effervescent crystals off the sides. And And so I knew it was doing the job that it was supposed to do of taking that negative energy out of the air. So that's something else that you can look for is not only do you want maybe certain energies in your home, maybe there's certain energies that can be helpful for you at work. And you can set those things around your desk or whatever kind of work you do. Okay. Stones that I use for also for parts of my healing is the chakra stones. And so those stones are usually correlated by color. And I didn't actually pull any of those stones tonight to specifically show you. I can probably wing it a little bit. So for the root chakra, you could use something like a black tourmaline. And when I'm working with someone, I'll place that stone, and this would be too big, but some, a small tourmaline on their root, which is just below the navel. And then use my pendulum to find out if that chakra is open or closed for them, or if it's balanced, and then the pendulum will tell me. So that I set at the root, and then on the navel I would use carnelian, which is an orange, or an orange calcite. And again, I don't have that right here, but that's again, and I would do the pendulum there, and then the citrine for that solar plexus, and then green, let's say for the heart, or the pink. Sometimes I use both. So I have a green and a pink crystal here, and I would place that at the heart and run the pendulum. And then for the throat, we can have that light blue or the labradorite, and rest of that on the throat. And then I leave these here. And then for the third eye, you could use either the amethyst or a lapis. I don't have a lapis here either. Lapis lazuli, which is a really dark blue stone that could sit here at the third eye. And at the crown, you could use the clear, or you could use amethyst. Either one would work. Oh, I forgot to show you guys this guy. Another clear quartz crystal. So there's clear quartz comes in all different ways. So I align that all on the person that I'm doing the healing with, and then I'll do some energy work through those crystals, and then rerun the pendulum to see if all of them are balanced. And when they're all balanced, we finish the session, and usually the person, is coming in feeling unbalanced, and they'll be feeling a lot better. So that's a real simple way of doing. You could even do that to yourself, do a healing for yourself or for other people. The other part of caring for your crystals, if you're not going to leave them out and you want them to be put away on your quartzes, and anything that's polished, you would want to wrap it or put it in something soft. A crystal like this could crumble. This just went out of my head. Anyway, you would want to wrap this up to also keep it from crumbling. The same with this tourmaline. Putting them away, you don't just throw them all in a jar. You want to be able to be really mindful and protective, and use some ceremony as you put them away and put them in a safe place. Sometimes if I do that, I'll also put in a few herbs, maybe some rosebuds or blue lotus or something like that, or even sometimes tobacco, just to give them that essence and that protection. So just other ways of taking care of your stones. Let me think, what else? I covered everything that I wanted to think of for just initial. This is just initial work of using your crystals and having them as a tool. And you can build on that. And I probably could do a whole nother talk because I know I'm starting to run out of time if I want to do a meditation. But I think I want to open it up for questions right now, and that might be helpful.
Well, thank you so much, Celeste. That was super, super illuminating. I had a quick question. You mentioned in the beginning about when you clean them using Palo Santo and sage differently. Like you use sage when you're doing larger groups, and then Palo Santo when you're doing like a single crystal or just a small grouping. How come?
Well, because the Palo Santo burns out really quickly.
Ah,
And sage, once you light a bundle of sage, it will keep burning until you really grind it out.
yeah.
And so I sort of like with sage, I'm like, if I'm gonna use it, I want to get a big bang for my buck because it it's a lot more work than the Palo Santo. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Thank you.
you're welcome.
I think Dana had
Yeah,
do you have a question too?
I wanted to say thank you, and that's so informative. And I was going to ask you about adding crystals to your baths if you enjoy that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can add crystals to your bath and add that energy into your bath. And again, finding out which one do you want in there? Do you want it to help you relax, or do you want it to discharge some energies that you picked up during the day? Or maybe you put in a few different ones in there to help with your sleep at night. Maybe you would align your chakras and put all of the chakra stones in your bed. So, you know, that's a really cool way of doing some quick self-care is by putting them in your bath for sure. That's a really great idea.
I put a huge selenite on Chris to help her sleep. It works great.
That makes complete sense. Well, and we can't forget that Epsom salt is a crystal. So whenever we use Epsom salts in our bath, it helps to take stuff out of our body that we don't need. So yeah, if you use rock salt lamps, they do the same thing. Yeah, they take all of those things out of the air that you don't want.
Janice? You're muted.
Okay. Thank you, Celeste. This has been a really great talk. And I have a question about the pendulum, which if you've never used a pendulum to work with crystals or your body, what would be like kind of a first steps?
Okay, so the thing that I use, or how I first even pick out a pendulum is to see if the pendulum works with you. So that's number one. You know, so I'll pick up a pendulum just to see if it's going to respond to my question even, you know. So I will ask the pendulum first, show me yes, and then I wait for it to move. And you just hold it as still as you can until it starts to move. And so that it's moving for me right now. I don't know if you can see it back and forth, front to back. And then I stop the pendulum. And if the pendulum isn't going to work with you, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to sit there.
Yeah.
And so then I ask the pendulum to show me no. And sometimes you have to wait. And it's moving now from side to side. to side. And then if I was doing, wanting to know if something was balanced or unbalanced, I would say, show me balanced or show me unbalanced, so that I would know what was happening with that chakra. And then I ask it, show me maybe or unknown or balanced. And so now it's circling. So that's the maybe or the I don't know or not right now. And so that's how you first pick out a pendulum.
Okay.
So then when you're working like with crystals, if you wanted to cleanse the crystal, you would ask the crystal to rotate to counterclockwise or clockwise. And so now it's rotating counterclockwise. And then I would do that 9 times. And that would be cleansing. And so that's all intentional. The other thing you can do with the pendulum is, let's say you picked up a crystal and you're not sure, do I need this crystal or not? So then you would put the crystal in your hand and you would say, after you've first, I always ask my pendulum, tell me yes, tell me no, tell me maybe, every single time. Just so then I would put the crystal in my hand and say, is this crystal meant for me? And then let the pendulum tell me yes, no, or maybe. So it's stuff like that. I don't use it for, should I take this job?
No, I'm
No.
specifically wanting to kind of use the pendulum to work with the crystals.
Yeah, with the crystals, you could go to your black crystals. Let's say you have a tourmaline or you have an onyx, and say, is the tourmaline meant to come to this this healing session today?
Okay.
Get a yes or a no,
Yeah.
like that.
Can you also learn about the crystal using the pendulum?
Yes. So I suppose you could ask the crystal, it would have to be, you'd have to ask it a question that can be a yes or a no or a maybe, but
Right.
are can you do long distance healing with me today? Or I don't know, yeah.
Okay.
It would be things like that.
Okay.
That's the only ways that I've ever used it with. There might be other ways.
Okay. Thank you.
Could explore that. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions before we move on? Okay. Celeste, I did just want to point out one thing. You said something I thought that was really important. The relationship with the stones, with crystals, isn't just what a book says, but it's what you intuit. It's your relationship to the crystal. And I think that that's always that can get lost because there's so much information about the stones themselves. So I really appreciate you emphasizing that, because you and the crystal will tell the story that is meant to be told between the two of you,
Yes. And
or the group, or whatever it is.
yeah, exactly. And the other thing that I forgot to mention is that that crystals are going to come to you, that you're not even going to know that you need it. It's just going to suddenly be there. And so don't disregard that. Don't push that away. Pick it up and go and see what happens, and you can read about it, or you're going to feel it. You're going to say, oh, this is helping my pain in my heart, or this is helping me be more grounded, or this is helping me breathe more easily, or and you just never know, how that crystal is going to show up. And the more that you're aware or open to it, the more they're going to show up, for sure. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Hi.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, that was great. Thank you. I've been working with crystals for a long time. And have you ever had crystals like disappear on you and then reappear like magically? It's like
Yes.
it's like they want to disappear for a while.
Yeah.
I even had a pendulum that I was using, and I was there was a woman that I was working with, and she was pretty toxic. And she was like, this was before I learned how to set boundaries. And she was always wanting me to do the pendulum for her. Well, after I'd had about enough of that and I didn't know how to say no, pendulum broke. It was like all of a sudden I picked it up and it was broken. So I was like, I guess it's helping me say no. So it's almost like it's like they're alive, and they help you do what you're supposed to do with them. And I also had I have a pyramid obsidian, and I
Mhm.
was helping a friend clean her collection, and so I picked up the pyramid obsidian, and it started vibrating in my hand like it was getting ready to levitate. So I was
Oh,
like, oh my God. And I was starting to feel really woo and really like I was gonna levitate too. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to buy you then. So it's like it chose me. And so
yeah,
I have it with me to this day when I work with clients. So I just had to share that because
thank you.
yeah, and if you have any stories like that too, it's pretty neat because it just shows that they're alive and working with us. Thank you.
Definitely. So I want to be respectful of people's time. It is almost time. And I was going to do a little meditation, but if people need to leave, um, we can not do the meditation, or we can go a little bit over time, and I will do the meditation.
I'm in for the meditation.
It looks like
Nobody's leaving. Okay.
nobody's leaving the building, so I say go forth, and if people have to slip out, if they just do so quietly, that would be lovely.
All right. That sounds perfect. All right, so when I do meditation with my crystals, I like to hold my crystal in my hand. So I'm going to be holding this one, but in intentionality that all of you are sitting with this crystal in my hand. So let's just take a moment to close our eyes and allow yourself to be grounded in some way. If you're seated and can put your feet on the floor, go for that. Otherwise, really get comfortable in your seat, letting your legs and feet be comfortable, maybe leaning up against something, and allowing the shoulders to soften and the jaw to release. Let's take 3 cleansing breaths. Take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale out the mouth. 2 more of those. Inhale and exhale. Last one, breath in and exhale it all the way out. And then if you can, stay with some deeper breaths, maybe filling up the lungs with each inhale. And then bringing to mind's eye this clear Marian sphere. And as if you were all seated around this sphere. And maybe taking a moment to either physically or mentally rub your palms together. And gently pulling those palms apart, and imagine that crystal sitting between the palms. And allowing that energy to pass from palm to palm through that crystal. This energy is light. Yes, I mean, in light, it is not heavy. And as that lightness moves between the palms, it begins to travel through the arms. Cleansing and releasing. Moving through the sides of the body. Continued lightness of that energy. Moving through the hips and the pelvic floor. Light and cleansing. Moving down through the upper legs and the knees. The lower legs and through the feet. Light and cleansing. And gently pushing back up through the spine. The back of the neck. And across the skull. Smoothing the forehead and relaxing all of the muscles in your face. Even into the tongue. Being filled with this light energy of this clear crystal. Cleansing and releasing. And feeling the lightness and clearness in the body. Allowing that clear light move through all of the emotions that you might be holding on to that need to let go. And letting all of that clearing and healing energy move completely through body, mind, and spirit. And gently begin to bring that attention back to the palms of the hands and that sphere between the hands. Allowing that sphere to come back into itself. Allowing it to rest back in the palm of my hand. And we're all of you sitting in a circle. The palms come back together. Gently rubbing that energy back to yourself. And the hands come to stillness. And allow your thumbs to rest on your heart. And back to the awareness of your own body. Moving out of the circle and back into your own space. Feel the grounding of the body. Your feet on the floor. Comfort of your back against your chair or the wall. And then whenever you're ready, being in the room, being in your space, being in your breath, and gently open your eyes. Thank you, everyone. It's my pleasure and privilege to be here tonight.
Thank you so much, Celeste. That was really wonderful, and that it was well worth going over a little bit to have that beautiful meditation. Well, thank you, Celeste, and thank you all for joining us this evening. And you can go to Mountain Spirit Co-op. You can go to our website to see the upcoming magic mixers and other events that are happening, and check things out. And you can certainly find Celeste there if you don't already know how to reach her. So with that, we say thank you, and hopefully we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Celeste. Thank you,
Good
Eve.
night.
Great
Thank
to see
you.
everybody.
Thank
Night.
you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, lady. Adios.